There was an aspect of this I wasn't really sure if I was even gonna go towards this guy, but I keep seeing him pop up in the things that he's saying. I guess he's another like Joe Rogan. Have you guys heard of Tim Dillon? Because I see the guy and I see his face and his podcast pop up every once in a while. And I literally had to Google search, why is Tim Dillon all over the place? And no disrespect to him because I don't know who he is. What he's discovering is that everything that he probably said or endorsed or who he interviewed and said he's a cool guy because he's making America great again, he's discovering all that was bullshit.
We don't need National Guard, or do we? I don't know that we do. All of the stuff that's happening right now, the militarized police, the, Palantir building the list. I don't love all of this. It seems like the precursor to the next thing. And the next thing might be much worse than this one.
Maybe they're starting to realize that we don't need National Guardsmen in the streets. Maybe all the things that they were telling you that they're doing and is happening isn't real. Maybe they're liars. Maybe they were looking for an opportunity to fool enough gullible people so they can unleash the military into the streets and say that crime is all over the place. So that now, when it's too late, you can go, I'm not sure if this was supposed to happen this way. All he said was that he was going to militarize the police, send his Proud Boys to be his law enforcement agencies, have brown shirts everywhere, have mass deportations, destroy the economy, and fuck up everybody's life. I didn't think he was actually going to do all that stuff. I thought he was just joking, running for president. This guy wasn't done talking.
They've already got the cops on the street that are not cops or that are the military. They've already got the National Guard on the street. They already have all your information in D.C., and now they just get to decide what is and isn't over the line. That should scare everybody. You're fucking nuts, dude. If this doesn't scare you, you're nuts. All of these things that Alex Jones, and I've had Alex on, I like Alex, but all these things that Alex Jones was like worried about when I listened to him in the late 90s, early 2000s are coming to fruition. And I don't know where he is on all of that stuff, but like, I know he's a big fan of Trump, but like, this is everything Alex Jones always talked about. Military in the street, the FEMA camp, the tech company that monitors everything, the surveillance. This is all of that. I mean, not to sound like a nut. This is everything a crackhead. And I don't even mean a crackhead like crack, but a guy smoking weed in a room with a black light and a insane clown posse tattoo on his arm. I'm thinking of a very specific guy I was friends with. But this is everything that guy would have talked about. He'd be like, bro, there's going to be military in the street. They're going to put you in jail for your thoughts, man. If you just say them, bro, you're going to be in jail. There's going to be a company that monitors everything you do, bro. Like, this is literally the wet dream of every conspiracy theorist that has ever lived, and it's happening now.
You're real close, Tim. It's the wet dream of fascists that are doing it right now. So that conspiracy theorist, crackhead and weedhead, I'm not sure how those are the same thing, but that weedhead friend of yours that you were smoking weed with in that dark room with the lava lamp and the black lights, that guy was talking about the people that, again, I guess during the campaign, this guy supported this movement and is surprised to see that this movement is doing what they said they would do. Oddly, even as he's coming to these realizations, he still is calling the people who said this would happen under the right kind of regime of fascist is happening. But when they call it out, they're still weird crackheads. I got some more information about what is going on with all these arrests that are going on in Washington, D.C. This is fascinating. It's from the Washington Post. Trump's crusade against crime in the nation's capital has resulted in more than 450 arrests since August 7th, is what the White House announced on Tuesday. Those arrests, fueled by an increase in federal agents on city streets, run the gamut of charges. That's from murder and assault to driving under the influence. They're really cleaning up the city because they're getting all those folks that are driving under the influence off of the streets, kind of like what normally happens when people are driving under the influence and they get pulled over and then they're taken off the streets. It's like it's a brand new charge or something. The Washington Post repeatedly reached out to the White House for the arrest records and undergirding their stats and has not received answers to questions about the specific details of each arrest. DC police deferred a similar request, saying the information needed to come from the White House. And when asked specifically about the number of arrests made by local officers, not federal agents, DC police directed the questions to the mayor's office, which was not responsible for arrest data, and they didn't respond either. It's like we're at a dead end about the information of these 450 arrests. There's more, though. As a result, there's a black hole instead of the usually readily accessible basic information surrounding an arrest. So, for example, when DC police make an arrest, there will be a quote public incident report, a public document that includes, among other things, the offense and its location and date and a short description of what happened. DC police continue to provide the reports for crimes in which local officers make an arrest, but refuse to answer questions about many of the arrests made by the multi-agency federal task force teams, despite DC police officers being embedded with many of them. So when the federalization of the police force comes in, there's no more accountability. There's no more police records. There's no more incident reports. There's no more details of what happened. There's probably no details of the names of the people that are sweeping up off the streets, kind of like what they're doing with migrants in California and kind of like what they're doing in other cities. And it's weird how this is now happening. It's also sweeping up American citizens that they just don't like. Speaking of those 450 arrests that they're bragging about, this is probably the best part and the last one. Between August 7th, it's weird, it's like the same point of the month from last year. Between August 7th and 19th of last year, DC police alone made 667 arrests. It's unclear whether the numbers the White House is releasing each day include any DC police arrests or are solely limited to arrests made by federal officers. But in case we want to know, when asked to clarify whether these arrests being announced by the White House included any DC police arrests, a DC police spokesperson said they don't know. Accountability, law and order, transparency, none of those things are happening. These fascist white supremacists in the White House have no law, they have no order. That's why JD Vance walked around getting called a bunch of pieces of shit and assholes. Said, this guy doesn't like law and order. According to your arrest warrants that you have no record of, and neither does the DC police that you federalized and taken control over, nobody knows. And even if the numbers that you're coming up with are correct, they're less than what they received last year from DC police doing their normal accountability of like picking up murderers, picking up people on the DUIs, and vagrants, as he's worried about. But there weren't any armored, mine-resistant vehicles T-boning residents as they drive to work in the morning. That's what fascism looks like. It's irresponsible, it's stupid, and it's all based in savage behavior, as they call other people those names. It's almost like we told you this was going to happen, as you're sitting in a dark, smoke-filled room with a lava lamp. But it's those hippies that are the problem.